Welcome back to Niaga AWANI. E-commerce is hard carrying Malaysia's internet economy, and at the rate the industry is growing, it is at risk of breaking its backbone, the warehousing industry. Despite being the beating heart of virtually every aspect of the e-commerce fulfillment chain, from the initial packaging and shipping to the storage and also distribution at their destinations, warehousing is still worlds behind the industry it serves. And in fact, the warehousing market in Malaysia is currently an alarming 94% smaller compared to e-commerce. While the e-commerce industry is projected to grow by 13.7% in the next 5 years, warehousing is only expected to grow at about half that rate in the same period, by 7.1%. And what do all these numbers mean for us? To discuss further on this, let's also call the experts to the studio. Senior Business Development Manager of IntelliMark, Joey Tan. Thank you so much, Joey, for joining us this morning. First of all, let's talk about the main issues that local warehouses are currently facing.
Hi, good morning, and thank you for having me. So, based on a market observation, the current local warehousing, what they are facing is basically the limitation of the infrastructure, right? So, this is due to the rapid growth and market demand, especially coming from e-commerce, right? So these warehouses, when they are built, they are simply rushed to be completed. So they are inadequately equipped with all the technology required. So basically, there are two main issues that need to be addressed. Okay? The main one would be they lack the technology equipped, so they can't actually work efficiently to manage the warehouse operation efficiently. So the second one, there's a lack of automation. This is a very important feature to ensure the stock accuracy in the warehouse.
What are some of the challenges for them to refurbish or upgrade their warehouse in terms of automation, for instance? Because you said that when they build, it's quite rushed for them, right? But moving forward, for them to refurbish and also to upgrade, will that be a biggest challenge for them?
Yes, because you need to consider all the budget, especially when you want to invest in equipment. You're talking about IoTs, sensors, and also the main thing is the process of the warehouse, right? You need a system to manage the flow. If you do not have the flow, everything will run back to manual. So when there's manual process involved, there will be bound to happen a lot of errors.
And also with the e-commerce advancements and all the challenges that you said just now, how do this basically affected the whole scenario, and where do you see this is going in the future?
So if these warehouses, they are not equipped enough, all right, they will have trouble in keeping up with the market demand,
right,
especially coming from the e-commerce, right? So consumer behavior is also one of the role that shape the shopping trend in Malaysia.
That would be me.
Yeah, me too. So looking back at the pandemic time, right?
Yeah.
Everyone is locked down, so they need to buy and shop from their convenience of the home. All right. So there is this trend of shop and deliver. All right. So when they shop, the e-commerce will deliver the goods to the house, right? But recent years, the trend has changed, including consumer behavior. Now we have adopted another trend, which is shop and pick, including me. All right. So the convenience is still available when they can shop from home, but now because they can move about, right? So they prefer to pick from the boutique itself, right? So this actually helps them to skip the queue. Okay, like me, I don't like to queue up to buy, right?
Me too.
But when this trend changes so rapidly, right, it brings complex processes to the warehouse, right? So now the warehouses needs to accommodate to omni-channel distribution. So if there are no automation involved to help them manage, they simply can't keep up with the market trend.
But what are the factors that actually influence the gap in growth between the manufacturing and also warehousing sectors? Because as far as I understand, the whole situation is basically supply and demand, because there's more demand from the e-commerce sites, for instance. Shouldn't it be more supply from the warehousing in terms of developing, also enhancing their services?
Okay, based on what our customer experience in the market, right, especially from the manufacturing sector, right? So we know they have the rush to adopt Industry 4.0, right? So you're talking about all the technology. But in the process of adopting Industry 4.0, right, they tend to neglect the step and the processes that required to achieve the end goal, right? So when they neglect all these important steps, they're bound to incur more costs. So when additional cost is involved, some might even just drop the transformation plan, right? But for those who successfully adopted Industry 4.0, so their manufacturing sector will have all the advanced equipment and system, right? But remember, there's a warehouse involved, the entity that needs to act side by side, right? So these are one of the steps that they ignore. So the warehouse will not have any system, right? There's no automation, it's running full manual processes, and then you're talking about paper and pens. So when there's a decoupling effect, the manufacturing sector would not be able to communicate efficiently or integrate with the warehouse. So when the volume exceeds expectation, they're bound to have a bottleneck to happen in the end.
All right, let's talk about the solutions that your company is providing. What the warehouse management systems, WMS, especially for digital processing and also automation, the best solution for the problems or the challenges that we mentioned just now. What are the primary characteristics and also benefits of the WMS, for us to understand?
Okay, so just now we touched a little bit on the integration and communication, right? So if the warehouse is able to implement WMS, so they will be able to communicate and integrate with the manufacturing end. So usually there is an ERP in the end managing all the manufacturing processes. So the data will be able to flow automatically to the warehouse, all right, because of the WMS, and the WMS will be able to automate the flow in the warehouse, all right. There are two main flows in the warehouse. So there's inbound and there is outbound. Okay, to break it down further, for the inbound, there are two main processes. So the first one being receiving. Basically, you receive the goods from the manufacturing side, all right, and then you put away. You need to put away the goods at the correct location, or sometimes referred to as a rack, right? But then for the outbound, you have three main processes, right? Then there's a picking process, where you pick the goods when you receive the order from the correct location. Then there's the sorting and packing. So sometimes you have loose goods, right? You need to repack, right? And finally, you have the loading and shipping, where you move the goods out from the warehouse. So when you have the WMS to automate the flow, all right, and manage these 5 processes, the warehouse can further minimize the error that's caused by manual transaction.
But how does this system basically optimizing the allocation of warehouse resources such as the labor, equipment, also floor space planning, and also in terms of cost as well? Because at the end of the day, all these warehouses, just like any other businesses, they're looking at their bottom line at the end of the day. Yeah.
Okay, so for this part, I would like to highlight 3 main functions, right? So the first one, the WMS role is as a central data processing, right? So it collects data and information from all the integration points. Just now there's a ERP as an example, right? So when it has all this data, right, it can push the instruction automatically to the floor users, correct? Then coming to the second one, they will need to have this information, right? So it can help the warehouse to do prediction, all right? So businesses, they can forecast because now they have visibility to their stock availability in the warehouse and also the movement, right? And then lastly, it also helps to streamline the processes in the warehouse. So no single users need to handle only one specific processes. That's why we mentioned 5 main processes. But with the WMS in place, every single user can manage all 5 processes. So there's less dependability. So you don't have to wait for the next person to assign the role or manage the task. So one person can manage end-to-end process.
But it's just not new in Malaysia, WMS, and also how does this differ from other peers or services or providers in the industry?
Okay. Intellimark has been always positioning itself as the total solution provider. Right? We are not just a software vendor for a WMS. Right? Just a little bit of background introduction. Intellimark has been in this market for 20 odd years, so it's about 2 decades. Right? We have been always focused helping our customer to digitalize their business process. Right? Our expertise lies in compute and storage, networking, cybersecurity, backup and disaster recovery, IoT, also known as Internet of Things, and cloud solution. Right? So Intellimark also has a subsidiary. Right? Their main focus are in-house software development and also customized solution. Right? So their solution revolves around AIDC, also known as automatic identification data capture. Right? So when you combine both of our expertise together, right, you have a total solution for the warehouse, whereby we cover the end-to-end solution.
Could you share with us some of your clients' testimony, I would say, that basically the whole situation after the change to WMS, basically it translates into a greater profitability or greater, how to say, the whole operation of the warehouse?
Okay, in Intellimark's perspective, right, the key of WMS is to achieve efficiency and accuracy, right? Let me share an example of our customers. All right. So before they approach us, they have a value of 40 million stock in their warehouse. Right. So before implementing our WMS, their stock accuracy was around 60%. Right. So they have a stock variance of 40%, which they cannot tally with their account books. Right. So after implementing the WMS with us, they were able to reduce the stock variance down to a single digit, almost a single digit. So they managed to improve their stock accuracy from 60 to almost 90%. So in our point of view, this actually helps them to manage better on their warehouse operation. Right? To summarize this, we believe WMS can actually help our customer achieve a better efficiency in their warehouse operation and also improve their stock accuracy.
All right. Briefly, how do you see the future of warehousing, especially in Malaysia, with all these solutions in the marketplace? And how do you see, if you could compare as well between our neighboring country, where do we see?
To compare with the neighboring country, this one, I would say, we have not explored to that area, right? But for the local Malaysian market, right, we believe most of our customers that we actually explore with, they are not fully ready to commit to invest in WMS. We truly understand that. But as a total solution provider, we also help them to design their digitalization roadmap, right? So they can start very light. Okay, Intellimark also provide a very basic inventory system. Okay, so there are no automation involved, right? It's just to allow them to track the in and out of the inventory in their warehouse, right? So at least we can let our customer here to experience the digitalization process in their business process first, right? So they can take a small step. So once they feel more comfortable and they can commit to invest in WMS, we will help them to move and migrate from there.
All right. Joey, thank you so much for joining us this morning. This critical aspect, of course, will help provide a comprehensive understanding of the e-commerce industry as of right now, present, and also the landscape moving forward. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. There is Joey Tan, Senior Business Development Manager of Intellimark.